Talks to avoid a government default will reach an important stage tomorrow when President Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy meet face to face. Negotiations this weekend between McCarthy and Biden emissaries made almost no progress, heightening anxiety in Washington and in the financial markets. CBS's Willie James Inman is on Capitol Hill with the latest. Willie, good evening.
Good evening, Major. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and President Biden spoke on the phone just hours ago, and both leaders agreed to continue those negotiations. Meanwhile, the U.S. government could default on its debt as early as June 1st, and that could be catastrophic for the U.S. economy. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy emerged from his office after what he said was a productive phone call with President Biden.
The agreement would be, let's get our teams back together so everybody clearly understands what we're talking about, what they're talking about.
Biden called McCarthy from Air Force One en route to Washington from the G7 summit in Japan, cutting short his overseas trip to address the crisis. McCarthy welcomed the chance to re-engage face-to-face. The president said he's already addressed deficit concerns at the heart of the stalemate.
I've done my part. We put forward a proposal that cuts spending by more than $1 trillion, on top of the nearly $3 trillion in deficit reduction that I previously proposed through the combination of spending cuts and new revenues.
House Republicans want spending cuts beyond what Biden has proposed. Two other priorities: recover billions in unspent COVID relief funds and impose work requirements for Medicaid and food stamp recipients.
I believe if you're an able-bodied man, you ought to be working.
Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says the deadline to avoid default remains June 1st. But today, some Republican lawmakers suggested the government can hold out until mid-June. Yellen says not so.
The odds of reaching June 15th while being able to pay all of our bills is quite low.
Some Democrats have urged Biden to avoid default, even if Congress does not raise the debt ceiling by invoking the 14th Amendment, which states the nation's debt should not be questioned.
Look, my view is the president should use all legal options out there. I think that is a legal option.
And Major, President Biden says that he is considering using the 14th Amendment and that he believes that he has the authority to do just that. But he also admits by doing so, it could be tied up in the courts. Meanwhile, negotiators from both sides are meeting this evening, with President Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy meeting tomorrow at the White House. Major.
Willie James Inman, thank you.